Hey girl, welcome to Brandy's Backyard. Today we're going to talk about pie. Again, I know, I told you I love me some pie. This time we're going to talk about apple pie. And who doesn't love them some apple pie? The town in Indiana that I live in used to have a festival called Mayberry Festival. And we had a movie that was actually made here, or partially here, and it was called Mayberry Man. And yes, I was an extra in the movie, so if you pay really close attention, you can see me standing by the mailbox in part of the movie. That's my claim to fame. So they did have a pie contest when they brought in this movie to premiere. So the recipe that I'm going to share with you today is my second place apple pie. I know, as the famous poet Ricky Bobby says, if you're not first, you're last. But I'm telling you, this recipe is far from last. So let me get my supplies together and we're gonna cook together again. Hey girl, welcome back. Let's get started making this apple pie. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna preheat my oven to 350 degrees. So let's do that. Okay, now that I've got that started, let me go over the ingredients with you. So you take 6 medium apples and you're going to slice them up. I slice mine up pretty thin. If you want to take a look at this, that's about how thin that I slice my apples. I have 6 medium apples in here that I've cored. I have taken the skins off and I've sliced them. We're going to have a 1/4 cup of brown sugar and a 1/4 cup of white sugar. And then for my spices, this is kind of what makes this apple pie different and so good, I feel like. You're going to take a teaspoon of cinnamon. You have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We have a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. I know, that's kind of the crazy ingredient in this. And that's what makes this pie so different and taste so good. I've got about a 1.5 tablespoons of water, and I have a tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. And then over here, I went ahead and prepared my crust, and I put the crust in a pie dish, and then I took the crust that I would put on top and I used a pizza cutter and I went ahead and made strips to put on top of the pie once it's the filling is completed, and we'll bake it like that. We will prepare this apple filling on the stove. So I'm going to go ahead and take all my ingredients minus my water and minus my cornstarch, because I'll add that towards the end of this being done on the stove. So let me take my sliced apples and pour them into the pan. I'm going to take my sugars and put them in on top of the apples. And then I'm going to add my spices. And now I'm going to put this on medium heat on my stove and get it started. When I was going over the ingredients earlier, I forgot to tell you about the 2 tablespoons of butter, and that will go in with all of the other ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that into the pot now, and I'm going to turn this on medium heat, and we're going to let it do what it needs to do and let it all marry together and be happy and make a pile of apple deliciousness. As this mixture is cooking on the stove, we're going to make sure that we stir it occasionally to make sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. And, you know, we're just going to kind of let it do its thing. It's just going to make this ooey, gooey apple loveliness that is going to go into this pie shell and be amazing. So this will take about 15 minutes. I'm going to cover it with a lid, and towards the end of this being done, we will add the cornstarch, which was a tablespoon of cornstarch plus 1 teaspoon, and some water. And I'll show you the slurry that I make once this starts to get done. But I just want to talk to you about apple pie. So my husband absolutely loves apple pie, and apple pie was definitely one of my dad's favorites. And when I am making this recipe, it just makes me think about my dad. I unfortunately lost my dad last November. So making this recipe kind of makes me feel sentimental, and it makes me miss him, but you know, it also makes me smile because I know that he enjoyed this pie so much, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as he did. So the reason that I make this on the stove is because I think sometimes if you just take the apples and the ingredients and put it in the pie shell, that it doesn't get as soft and ooey gooey as it would if you make it on the stove. So as you're cooking this, just make sure that the apples are starting to soften. You obviously don't want them mushy because then you're going to put them in the pie and they are going to bake for about 20 minutes in the pie shell. But we just want to make sure that they're soft and that when you take out the pie that you don't have crunchy apples. As you can see, the apples are almost done. So now it's time for us to make the slurry mixture. Okay, so let's make this slurry mixture. We're going to take the cornstarch. I'm just going to put it in here so it's a little easier for you to see because it is a clear container. So let me get all that cornstarch out. All right, now we're going to take a tablespoon of water and we are going to just put it into the mixture. So let's go ahead and take this tablespoon of water, maybe just a little extra, and let's combine it. We might need to add a little more. That's why I always have a little extra water here. There we go. That was about another half a tablespoon, I would say. So let's get this good and combined. And then we're going to add that to the apple mixture, and then we're going to let it cook for 1 more minute. So I think this is good. If you can see it, let's add that to the mixture. So I put the cornstarch into the pot, and as you can see, it's already starting to thicken up. And I'm only going to let this cook for 1 minute, and then I'm going to transfer it to the pie shell. So I went ahead and I turned off the heat to the burner. So now I'm going to take this ooey gooey loveliness and place it into the pie shell. So here we go. Oh my goodness. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Oh, so I had my timer set. That's what you hear in the background. Let me turn that off. All right, awesome. I'm just gonna make sure that didn't affect me preheating my oven. All right, so let's get all of it. You want to make sure you get all of this because this is like gold. You do not want to miss out on this ooey gooey loveliness. So let's go ahead and spread it around in the pie shell. Oh my goodness, if you could smell my kitchen right now, you would be jelly. I'm telling you. Yum, yum. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take these strips of dough that I cut beforehand, and like I said, I just rolled out my dough and I used a pizza cutter to make these strips. And if you want to get super fancy with it, you can take these strips and you can kind of twist them, and it makes kind of a pretty design. Yeah, so we'll do that with all of our strips of dough. I do not weave mine in and out because I do not do it like that, right? Because it's just a lot of work, and you can just lay them across it and it looks just as nice. So let me go ahead and get these on. It's so beautiful. I'm trying to make sure my longer strips go where they need to go. So this just adds an element of prettiness to the pie. You know, we eat with our eyes, or so I've been told. I pretty much eat because I like the taste of it, but you know, I'm trying to make it nice for you all. All right. And while I was waiting for that mixture to be done, I went ahead and I took some cinnamon and sugar and I mixed it together. So that would be like an additional teaspoon of cinnamon and 2 teaspoons of sugar that I mixed in this bowl. And what we'll do is we will actually sprinkle it over the pie once I get all these strips put on, because it'll make it taste so good. I mean, who doesn't love extra cinnamon? And you know, in Indiana, we love our cinnamon. So, all right. But it will be very pretty once it's finished. You won't be disappointed, I promise you, especially in the taste. All right, so let me take my sugar and cinnamon mixture and just kind of sprinkle it over the top. Yum, yum. I had a couple strips left over. And you know, with leftover strips, you can always take them and take cinnamon and sugar and sprinkle it over them, and you have a nice little treat. All right, so. Okay, so let's get this pie into the oven. We're gonna let it bake for about 20 minutes. We just want everything to get done. We want it to be nice and golden. And if you really wanted to make your pie shiny and beautiful, you could always take an egg white and beat it and just kind of coat the top of it with it to give it that shine factor. Okay, I've placed the pie in the oven, you all. Let's let it work its magic, and then I will see you back here. Hey girl, welcome back. This delicious apple pie has just come out of the oven. And look at that bad boy. I cannot wait to give myself a try of this. So, let's do it, right? All right. Here we go. I am tickled pink about this. So let's just cut a little slice here. Oh my word. It is like piping hot, so kind of worried about that because I'm probably going to burn my lips off my face, but I feel like this is probably worth it, right? So let me go ahead. Oh my goodness. Look at that. That is beautiful. Oh my gosh. I am so excited to try this. You know it's my favorite time of the day because it's taste test time. And look at this smoky little lovely gooey pile of happiness right here. Let's do it. Wow. That is so good. And I know that the pepper that I put in it is kind of an odd ingredient, but it's one of those things that makes you say, man, what's in that? That's really good. It's different. So I hope that you will give it a try. It is so good. And as far as the type of apples to use, I feel like that's personal preference. You know, I use Fuji apples. I'll use whatever pretty much is on sale. I'm not very picky about my apples. I just like my apple pie, right? So, I cannot quit eating this. But, yeah, just use what you like. I wouldn't recommend anything specific. Some people like, you know, Granny Smith apples because that adds a little bit of tartness. Or they'll take 2 red apples and add a Granny Smith apple, you know, to that ratio. And, you know, that can be good, but I just love apples, so I really don't care what kind of apple it is. So if you try this recipe and you like it, make sure you like, share, subscribe to my channel, and make a comment. Hey girl, it's Brandy's backyard.